Greetings, comrades. We are discussing the South African elections. Unlike in Zimbabwe, the South African president is elected by parliament. In Zimbabwe, when we cast our votes, there is a presidential ballot. So the president in Zimbabwe is elected by registered voters. Whereas in South Africa, as we have seen in the last just ended elections, that voters are required to elect a party. They vote for a party which of course puts candidates who will then be members of parliament. Once the elections have been done, as is the case with South Africa, where the Independent Electoral Commission has announced the results, Parliament of South Africa has 14 days from the date of the declaration of the results that it has to elect a president. So in other words, the current President Cyril Ramaphosa and his cabinet, they remain in office until Parliament elects a new president. And of course, once that president is elected, is a president-elect who needs then to be inaugurated. So for now, President Ramaphosa still has all the powers as the president of South Africa. There is no vacuum. Now, because the African National Congress got 40% of the votes, it did not have a majority in parliament. There have been a discussion in a number of social media platforms. Others are saying that if one party, particularly MK party, says it will not attend parliament, it has 58 members, therefore parliament will not be able to sit. We have been following discussions and listening to various legal experts on the subject. What the legal experts are saying is that the Constitution says there must be a minimum number of 350 members of parliament and maximum 400 members. So a minimum of 350 members or maximum 400, which parliament has over the years placed the number to a maximum which is 400 members. Then the Constitution says for the election of the president, or for the parliament to sit to elect a president, you need a third of those members, that is a third of 400, to be sworn in. So in its first sitting, if a third of the 400 are sworn into office, in other words, if 133 members of parliament are sworn into office, those 133 members form a quorum to elect a president. In other words, the ANC has 159 members of parliament. So if all other parties boycott parliament in the next 14 days, when it then sits, 159 members of the ANC alone in parliament will gather, elect a president. That's what the legal experts are saying. But that, which of course is option one, on what should happen. So parliament can elect a president who requires a simple majority. Then the president will form a cabinet. Now, thus becomes a minority government. A minority government, of course, is not stable. There can be a vote of no confidence because the ANC has 159 members of parliament. So if the rest of the members of parliament then vote as a block on a motion of no confidence to the president and the cabinet, they can be removed. So option one of establishing or forming a minority government, it is not stable, but it can happen. So ANC members on their own can elect a president who then forms a government. But secondly, linked to option number one, according to legal experts, is that the ANC can strike a deal, say with the smaller parties in parliament, have this coalition which is not based on what we are currently being fed to by the media, a coalition where the other smaller parties will say, no, we support the candidate of the ANC to be elected president, in this case, President Cyril Ramaphosa. on condition that the MPs from the opposition will then be elected or appointed to chair portfolio committees. Right, you look at the smaller parties like Al Jamaa, parties like Action SA and others can enter into such a deal to say, okay, we are going to chair these committees, we are going to support the candidature of your candidate to the saying to the NC that they will support the candidate who becomes Cyril Ramaphosa. It makes it a bit stable. Unlike the first option, where it's a minority government, there's no deal with the smaller parties to chair the committees. It is unstable, but and of course, it presents challenges in terms of even passing the budget. But if then there's this deal with the smaller parties that they are going to chair portfolio committees, it is a bit stable. But of course, option 3, it's a full coalition. For the coalition partners to reach a threshold of 50% plus 1 of the members of parliament. That is 50% of the 400 members of parliament. That of course will require political deals to be struck to say whatever coalition the ANC would want to enter into, maybe with the 1 or 2 parties. This is how we expect this to play out in the next 14 days. So as we summarize on this one, is that there's a strong possibility, unless of course the ANC decide to replace President Cyril Ramaphosa as its leader, or then appoint another person to be. But I was listening to the Secretary General of COSATU saying President Cyril Ramaphosa should complete his term as a president of the ANC. So expect that President Cyril Ramaphosa will be elected for a second term. But conclusion, outside this coalition, is the whole question of the announcement of the results. You remember that in Zimbabwe, in 2018, we cast our vote on the 31st of July 2018. By the 1st of August, the following day, opposition supporters were already in the streets demanding the announcement of the election results, leading to the death of people. You remember the army shooting people in the streets. There was a commission of inquiry. In this case, we did not see this happening. The Independent Electoral Commission said it has 7 days to announce the results. And there was no commotion. People waited for the final result to be announced. So it's a lesson to us in Zimbabwe to say you need to wait for the final result to be announced by the institution that runs the elections in Zimbabwe. Otherwise, please write your comments in the comment section, like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you're on TikTok, please do follow us. Otherwise, Amandla Comrades.